Hello friends, my name is Emile and welcome to a brand new Let's Play here on my channel, and for the first time on HG Central, this is TOCA Touring Car Championship for the PlayStation 1, released in 1997 here in Europe and later on in 1998 in North America. It was also available on the PC as well as the Game Boy Color in the year 2000. This game is a rather interesting one. Of course, the TOCA franchise would later become the Race Driver franchise, which would later become just the Grid franchise, developed by Codemasters, who had a fair reputation here in the UK by the time that this game came out, and, well, eventually they have become the well-renowned legendary studio that they are today. Of course, they also gained success with another racing franchise they would produce around this time, Colin McRae Rally, which would eventually become the Dirt series. But humble beginnings, certainly, for the Grid franchise, as TOCA Touring Car Championship follows the 1997 British Touring Car season. And yeah, this is what we are going to be playing through. It features all the tracks from there, as well as 8 vehicles which were in the series. Let us begin. You do get the choice of doing a single race time trial or championship mode. We're going to focus on the championship mode because that's the one you progress through. We are going to, of course, select a new game. So the game does give you the option of either performing a short championship or a full championship. A short championship is basically all the same races, however you do get about 6 laps per race, whereas the full championship features full-length races, you know, whole 20-lap affairs. We are going to do the short championship because the full championship is extremely long, takes about 13 hours to complete, and you don't really unlock anything else by doing the full championship, so we will stick with the short one. Anyways, after entering your name, you're greeted by a car selection screen, so let's go through the cars that are available in this game. You can drive the eventual 1997 champion, the Renault Laguna, which comes in a rather fantastic paint job, only really seen in this game, to be honest with you. The Peugeot 406 car, which didn't do so well in the championship. We have the Nissan Primera, a firm fan favourite in the BTCC. The Ford Mondeo, the only V6 car here on the grid. The Volvo S40, one of my personal favourites. The really rather uninteresting, not one of my favourites at all, Vauxhall Vectra. The 1996 champion, the Audi A4, the only 4-wheel drive vehicle here in this game, and was also severely penalised here in the 97 season after it walked away in the 96 season, and the Honda Accord. So yeah, a pretty interesting car list. However, we are going to be using the Renault Laguna in our quest for the championship because, well, if you're going to win a touring car championship in 1997, you're driving the Renault Laguna because it was the best car available. I am playing this on a PlayStation 3 thanks to its backwards compatibility, just because it makes things a little bit easier. Round 1 is going to take us to the Donington Park GP course, and, well, we have Tiff Nadell to voice over for us.
TOCA Touring Car Championship. Renault have kept their latest signing under wraps until the last minute. This is Donington Park and the first of 2 touring car visits here this season. Today, the teams will be racing the longer Grand Prix circuit. Qualifying for the first race is due to start, so let's see who comes out on top.
And yeah, Tiff Nadell. He did quite a lot of video games around this time. Anyways, at the start of each race, it does give you the option to qualify. I am going to be taking the opportunity to qualify. I tried doing a test playthrough of this game where I didn't take the option to qualify, and it would prove pretty disastrous. Although, admittedly, here around Donington, you will see why I sort of had sneaking amount of confidence, because, well, Donington, pretty easy track, pretty good track to introduce you to the game. Not many games have Donington in them either. So yeah, well, we will be taking advantage of the qualifying. I won't be doing all of the laps of the qualifying most of the time, just because it takes for absolutely ever. I'm not doing 3 laps of just racing around here on my own and then followed by 6, 7, 12 laps of actual racing. So usually I'll only really take advantage of qualifying to basically do the first lap. I might do another one as well, depending on how little I know the course. You know, some courses I genuinely don't know because they don't really feature in any other games. So I might have to go ahead and qualify to learn essentially the track on the fly, which should be the interesting part of this Let's Play, certainly. I forgot to break into this corner. This one can usually be quite a disastrous run. Donington GP is actually one of the longest tracks in the game. It is 2.5 miles in length. Usually takes about a minute 30 to get around here if you're a really very good driver. Anyways, as we speed to the line, we're going to get a 138.97. I will take that.
With only hundredths of a second separating the first few drivers, we should have a cracker of a race on our hands.
Yes.
The cars are ready to start the first race, so let's join them down on the grid.
Okay, so we need to get 20 points at this venue in order to proceed. I am starting in 8th position thanks to a pretty decent qualifying round, especially considering I only did 1 lap of qualifying. Try not to slam into the back of the Accord. So yeah, the actual physics of this game, a little bit of an interesting one. You'll see this as we go on. At the time this game came out, the physics were considered pretty, oh god, trying to dive off the road to avoid, oh god, that Audi's being collected. I slightly caused that, but shh. Anyways, of course, when this game came out, it was considered to have very good driving physics. In fact, TOCA Touring Cars was the benchmark for PlayStation 1 racing games when it first came out here in Europe. Eventually being trounced by Gran Turismo as the ultimate PlayStation 1 driving game later on in its life, but and then GT2 of course came out after that one. Try and get around the side of Plato, who's of course, because it's Plato, trying to push me into the grass, and that is not going to work for you, sir. Brake nice and early into here. Yeah, the physics are fine in this game. They're not like amazingly realistic. You can take corners at silly amount of speeds, and if you watch speed runs on this game, because I believe someone speed run the full championship and it took them 11 hours. That gives you an idea of how long the full championship is. But yeah, he was you know, taking some corners at some serious speed. If you know this game, you can go really very quickly around the tracks. Me personally, though, not really knowing this game all too well, I'm not quite on that caliber, so yeah, you may see me occasionally cock up. The handling is very finite. You can spin the cars up very easily. Usually, you may sort of see the way I'm cornering looks a little bit weird. It is because I am literally tapping the D-pad to get round. You can't hold it in a direction for too long, because eventually the back end will try to meet the front end of the car. Even in a front wheel drive car like this Laguna, it is going to try and do that. So you do have to be very cautious when it comes to driving on this game. And to be fair, if it feels like the car's got no grip, it's gonna go. The car is just gonna spin out. You can't save it. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, you do have to be really very fine with the controls, I want to say. You need to know what you're doing, basically. Also, the brakes lock up pretty easily because these cars have no ABS. You cannot brake and turn in this game. That is, you just can't do it. Admittedly, you know, that is actually fairly realistic, I guess, especially in a car with no ABS. You don't want to sort of be braking on turn-ins. It kind of upsets the weight transfer of the vehicle as well, but you really can't brake and drive because the car will just spin out and that'll be the end of you. You'll be toast. So yeah, hey, we got fastest lap. Lovely. But yeah, you do have to be severely careful. The AI in this game is a well, yeah, see what I mean? I knew the car was going around. This is one of those games where you have to hold the brake to try and get into reverse. Try and pull away. I don't see any cars behind me. I think I've got a pretty good lead on the competition there, so yeah, well, not too bad. Interestingly enough, I usually actually drive better when I'm racing with AI drivers. Sort of in the touring car tradition, you can sort of use them as cushions to get around some of the corners. This game does have damage, however, it is not mechanical. Well, I say that actually. I think you can actually completely murder some vehicles. I'm not quite sure on how you do it. I don't know if it's a case of you can flip them over or something. But, you know, I've had full speed front end impacts and it hasn't affected me, so I don't know if it's a case of maybe the AI cars can get taken out, but you can't. I know if you drive a certain special vehicle in this game, you can take them out pretty easily, but we'll get to the special vehicles and special bits and bobs in this game as we go on, because this game certainly did have a good load of secrets, and yeah, they were a hell of a lot of fun to play around with, so of course I will definitely be playing with those at some point. Interestingly enough, there is a couple of shortcut strategies around this track. You can go through the pit lane. That will actually minimise your time off, because the pit lane is significantly shorter than that last corner. If you go too fast through the pit lane, I think, you can basically trick the game into letting you into the pit lane without you actually having to pit, which is quite nice. I think, anyways. I don't know if this game actually has working pit stops. I would assume not. But yeah, you can use the pits. I guess we could try that at some point, although I don't really want to. Yeah, other than that, it is a fun old game. It definitely feels weird. I'm not going to say anything other than that. You know, it doesn't feel like a modern game at all. You know, you compare the handling of this to your Forzas and even your terrible sim games like your Project Cars. You know, the cars aren't as unpredictable as they are here. I guess it's kind of like a fun danger thing, to be honest with you. Like the danger of actually spinning one of these cars out and so on. You can do it. It is perfectly possible to do so. And there is a little bit of a danger involved there, so I guess that's something that it does, but yeah, it definitely feels weird. You definitely have to play the game a little bit, figure out what it's going to do, especially when there's weather conditions, which of course we will see that later. I don't, at least in my personal experience, it doesn't feel like the weather conditions affect the cars ridiculously. It could have some effect on them. It's basically like the Grand Theft Auto rain effect by the looks of it. You know, it does have some effect on the handling of the vehicle, but it isn't majorly or anything like that. Damn, we're not too far off the best time of that one there, are we? Alright, let's break into here. The corners are terrifying on this game. Like the more straight line speed corners are very terrifying, because it does genuinely feel like the car could just randomly stop giving you grip at any point, and yeah, your heart starts racing once you get no response from the controls whatsoever. That is the sign that the car is going to go around. I don't know sort of if the cars have any intricate differences. I've driven a couple of the cars. Honestly, I couldn't really tell. I think the Laguna is one of the better accelerating cars of the bunch, as I sort of accidentally pumped that Ford Mondeo into the scenery over there. Shame it wasn't a Vectra. Interesting thing, you'll see this sort of little pack of cars here every now and again. The sort of the last 6 cars in the pack are hilariously slow vehicles who don't pose any threat whatsoever. So yeah, usually they're split far away from the main field of racers, that is towards the front, and then usually you'll see the Renault running out in front. Because of course, as previously discussed, Renault is technically the best car in the game to have. Of course, it was the 97 winner. In fact, the Laguna won pretty dominantly when it comes to 1997. Certainly, it did not mess around. We were slightly quicker on that lap, apparently, as we catch up to a white Vectra. One of the cars you can't drive in this game, actually, the white Vectra. You know, basically the way this works is you will take the position of driver number 1 in any grid. Ooh, well, okay, it's a Vectra, I don't care. Anyways, you will take the role of driver 1 in whatever team you decide to join. So for the Vauxhalls, you'll take the role of whoever. The Renault, I took the role, ironically, of the eventual 1997 champion. I can't remember his name to save my life. I will I believe he was a Swiss man. I will go ahead and check that out for the next episode and try and get some touring car commentary going on this one. But yeah, I take the role of him, which means Jason Plato is my teammate, a man who I'm not very keen on. But yeah, because of that, the Vauxhalls actually have different paint schemes. One of them is red and one of them is white, and you can't drive the white one. Interestingly, I need to stop getting phone calls. That's what I need to do. I apologise for that. Yeah, that's irritating. 2 seconds. Anyways, continuing on. Let's try not to crash the car. There we go, pull it back on the track. Yeah, okay, we are back, and we're literally just about to finish this race by the looks of it, which is lovely. And we'll be able to take pole position in the first ever round of our touring car season. There we go.
And that's the very first victory of the new Renault driver's career, and I'm sure he'll be delighted. So let's have a closer look.
Oh, hey, Plato, 47 seconds. Wow, excellent.
It's
All right.
important for all the drivers to get a good lap in here as we join the second qualifying session.
Here we go again, another qualifying session here at Donington. Let's see how well this one goes. I would imagine it'll go pretty much the same as the last one, to be honest with you, except that I know the track a little bit more now. Very pleased with that first result, actually. 47 seconds ahead of Plato. Now, do not worry, this game... Oh my god. Yeah. You know what I was talking about? The handling being a little bit dodgy? Yeah. That's one of the things it can do. It sort of, you'll just lose grip at random points. That can happen. It's quite scary when that happens. But it can happen. You know what? I'm going to test that pit stop strategy on the qualifying session for this, because admittedly it doesn't really matter if we can somehow get 47 seconds over the leader in the previous race. You can sort of see why I didn't do the full championship now, to be honest with you, can't you? Because if I did the full championship, that would have just, like, not happened. That, you know, like, that race would still be going on right now. It was a 20-lap race, and we would be a million seconds ahead of Plato, and it would be really boring. Like I said, luckily these races do get longer. Oh, sorry, do get harder as we go in. Donington's a bit of a weird one. I always write Donington off when it comes to this game, because like round 1 in this game is ludicrously easy. Round 2 is where you get your issues. Right, let's just try and see if that... Oh yeah, of course it works, because technically... Yeah, there you go. I think, yeah, if you do go too quickly through there, you can actually muck it up, but, where are we? Oh, we're starting in 9th. Okay.
Let's join the second race of the day.
We need to get position number 6 in this race, apparently, to advance onwards, which is absolutely fine by me. Yeah, the championship point's a little bit weird in this race, so you may notice, you know, sure, we did win around number 1, and that's great and all, but that still hasn't secured us anything. We need to be still constantly moving up the championship rankings, and that does get harder and harder as this game does go on. Try not to make the same mistake we did in qualifying. The Accord is trying to brake check me by the looks of it, which is not going to go well. Audi pushing me off into the grass. Thank you very much, sir. Typical Audi driver. Right there in front of us. We are up into 5th position. Once again, it's another 6-lap race, this one, by the looks of it. So we're going to move around the side of the Audi, get around the Accord. Can I dive to the inside to get up the other Accord? Not quite. He's going to block the racing line. And I'm going to push him a little bit wide because he's being a bit of a wanker. Alright, Plato. Let's try and get round you. Admittedly, teammates don't really matter in this game too much because, well, you know, you're sort of rolling independently as Plato goes off. I don't cause an accident, thank you. I mean, to be fair, it would be... I don't want to say it'd be cool if he caused an accident, but the accidents in this game are something to behold. They do get pretty spectacular when they want to. Yeah, you can have some rather terrific incidents in this game, and it is rather amusing when that does happen, if a little bit morbid, I guess. Anyways, we are going to put in a pretty terrible first lap, but admittedly, we shall see how the second lap goes. It'll probably get better. This point will probably become more of a hot lapping contest because, well, we are far ahead of anyone else. Maybe someone can correct me on the comments on this one. But this does appear to be a game where you're sort of... the AI seems to be randomly generated when it comes to the difficulty. I.e., you'll see in this race they're really not very difficult, but in the next race, or in the next couple of races, every time I've played up to that point, they've become really very, very aggressive. And quite difficult opponents. So, yeah, it was interesting to see how they do. The interesting thing is with them, they are very prone for they like a fight. The AI in this game, you know, they like it when they get to ram you off the road a little bit. You know, when you start having a tussle with them as well, it's quite enjoyable. In that sense, you know, these AI drivers are certainly not anything out of Gran Turismo with its very predictable AI sort of rubber banding. Not rubber banding. What do they call the on a... God, what do they call it? I can't remember. They have a name for Gran Turismo's AI, but it's completely escaped me. It's like a common phrase they use for it. But yeah, the Gran Turismo AI does like to stick on its path. Basically, it's on wire. Well, as this game, yeah, you know, the AI will make mistakes. They can kill each other, which is something we haven't seen yet, but we might see it later on. Hey, we get another fastest lap, apparently, even though that lap wasn't the best lap I've ever done. Yeah, like, if you know how to drive this game, you can take that first corner right there flat out. You can take most of the corners in this game completely flat out if you know what you're doing with the handling, but yeah, it is a little bit tricky to get used to. What I find actually works for this game is turning the... Oh, God. I say what works for this game as I slide the car out. What I find works well for this game is actually turning the sensitivity on the handling all the way up to high and then just tapping the D-pad. That seems to be the best way to get these cars to be controllable. When the game starts on medium, it's really hard to sort of get a feel for when the car's spinning out. Well, at least now, you know, while it is very unpredictable, you do sort of know how much steering input you can put into a corner before the car will start having issues, and I've never tried the low setting. I'm assuming low works very well if you're driving this game on a racing wheel, which wasn't a particularly common thing to do back in the day, and it still isn't hugely common to race console games and even some PC games on a wheel these days, but yeah, it is a good idea to turn your steering sensitivity up, just because it makes the game a little bit more playable. Honestly though, in my opinion, this game's handling is still better than quite a few other racing games I've played. It's certainly not the worst, you know. I personally do not like the way the Grid games handle. I think they're way too sensitive, and I'd actually say this, even though it is more random, you don't know what the cars are doing at all times and all the rest of it, I would actually do prefer the handling system of this game to something like Grid, or, you know, at your absolute worst, your Need for Speed 2015s, because that game had some pretty interesting handling, it must be certainly said. Yeah, I love this game. I wish there was more touring car games out there in the wild. My God. You know, there really isn't anything these days. Sure, Forza's adding some touring cars, and Gran Turismo, I don't know. I've literally kept up nothing on GT Sports. I know nothing about that game, so I don't know. Maybe that game has like some form of touring cars, although admittedly they seem to be focusing more on you know, your made-up GT cars for some reason. I mean, they look kind of cool, but yeah, I mean, GT car racing, there's plenty of games that do that, but touring car racing, like actual touring car racing, They also really died off when this game became, you know, the Race Driver series. To give you a bit of a backstory, sort of the TOCA franchise, it was TOCA Touring Cars, TOCA Touring Car Championship, then there was TOCA 2 Touring Cars, then there was TOCA World Touring Cars, and then finally there was TOCA Race Driver. Now, TOCA Race Driver was the final game to have the Dunlop British Touring Car license, and that was just because touring cars back in the sort of early 2000s became very unpopular. A lot of manufacturers dropped out of it. I believe in that game there's only 5 manufacturers who are actually racing in this series. Whereas in this game, you know, there's 8 of them you can choose from, and I think TOCA 2 may have added a couple more as well. I can't remember, but you know, that was just when touring cars was on its decline. But now, sort of with the more modern touring car series, you know, the Dunlop MSA, it is getting much larger again. Ooh, God. It is almost starting to get to sort of 90s levels, really. I mean, admittedly, you know, 90s is when the touring cars weren't the most popular, but it's starting to creep up there again, you know. It is quite a popular show. You do see a lot of people on it, and so on. You know, of course, it's not going to get to F1 levels or anything like that, but yeah, it is starting to get popular again, so it is making me wondering, you know, maybe a touring car game would be pretty cool now. Of course, you know, despite not having the particular British license, you know, the race driver games would go on to contain some touring cars. You know, you can, in Autosports, there's a touring car league, in even Race Driver Grid, there's a couple of touring cars, I think. I remember like a Chevy Lacetti in that game, but I don't really remember much out. I didn't really play much of Grid 1 just because Grid 1 handling physics, I couldn't cope with them. Grid 2 I played a little bit more of. I actually, controversial opinion, I actually do prefer Grid 2 to the first game. It was just a little bit more enjoyable for me, even though, you know, the game is probably worse, you know, like, it hasn't got any of the team building or anything, but I did sort of prefer Grid 2. Ooh, we're going to get a warning for dangerous driving, apparently. That is no bueno. I forgot, yeah. There is actually like a warning system in this game and so on, which is quite cool. It's a little bit of a fucky warning system. Like, dangerous driving will only pop up if you, like, really madly total a car, and that is only every now and again. Ooh, God. Get off the road. This has been a much muckier race by the looks of it. Although, admittedly, I still think I'm about 1,000,000 miles away from Plato. I am sort of lapping cars here, so unfortunately, all the Peugeots are not doing well in this race, which is a little bit of a shame. Come on, Vectra, give me my spot, thank you. As I smash into the back of another one of these Fords. Please get out of my way. Well, I mean, you know, it is quite weird seeing the cars with their 97 liveries, because, I mean, between 1997 and 1998, the cars didn't change all that much. I don't think there was any, like, new additions to the touring car roster as far as I'm aware, but the sort of the 98 paint jobs are the one people recognise more. You know, I mean, they were in Gran Turismo 2, for example, you know, and they were in a few other games as well around this time, but you don't really see much of the 97 paint jobs, you know, like this yellow and blue Laguna, which I think looks absolutely amazing. I think this car personally looks 1,000,000 times better than the green they went for in the end. They went for like a, I'm not going to call it British Racing green, but it was kind of like that sort of colour for the Laguna in 98, and it just didn't look quite as cool as this almost Williams style livery. Anyways, we're going to get first place, which is cool. And we're going to be 30 seconds almost in front of Plato.
So,
lovely.
Let's see how today's events affect the championship table. The new Renault driver is in the lead at this stage. Can he keep it up, I wonder?
Yes, excellent. Okay, we shall save our game and move on to round number 2. Anyways, and that was round 1 of TOCA Touring Car Championship. 2 pole positions, very good for our first championship. However, as we head into rounds 3 and 4, things could very much change. So, I will see you for rounds 3 and 4. Thank you all very much for watching. If you're watching us on HG Central, I'm going to assume there's a link to my channel in the description. You can come and check out my 6 out of 10 content. It's alright. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a farewell.